Welcome to the Profitability Podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Mackenzie.
Join us as we explore success in business and life, proving that while finance may not feel sexy, profitability is. Here we go. Kaelyn, thanks so much for joining us today on the Profitability Podcast. To start out, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your situation, and your business? What do you do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, first of all. So excited to be here. So a little background about me. I'm a wife, a mom of two kiddos who are so fun and so exhausting at the same time. I started my business. Actually, I love this story because it's really painful and then became really amazing. But I actually was laid off. I was given 30 days notice. And from what I thought was my dream job, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have two kids. So I was like, I want to do everything I possibly can to not go back to a normal 9-to-5. So I found a girl on Instagram talking about becoming a virtual assistant. And I was like, well, I think I could do that. So I dug my head down, did a bunch of research. A month later, I launched my business. And it was just the best, most amazing thing I could have done for me and my family. I scaled pretty quickly, started landing clients. Really was like, how is this happening? This is so incredible. And by month 6, I was booked out. I brought on a teammate. And then a couple months later, I launched an agency. I have a team of 6 amazing, incredible women. And I also coach now other virtual assistants and just women in business to build their own businesses. So it's been such a ride, such a journey, and probably the best thing besides my 2 kids that I've done in my life.
Yeah. That's so great. Business is kind of like a third kid, though. Totally. Like, it really is a baby in so many ways. So that's so great. You mentioned something that I wanted to touch on. What did you say? Oh, you said that this was kind of born out of like the worst experience, that period of your life, I guess. And I feel like that's so common, that it seems like when everything is falling down, or, you know, the worst moments is when we get really scrappy and really creative, and some really amazing things come out of them. So I feel like that's kind of common, but it is in the moment so incredibly scary and so hard to be like, what am I going to do? Especially if, obviously, like you said, you have a family that you're needing to take care of, and, you know, there's so many factors, and you don't have endless amounts of hours to just dive in and start something. You know, you just got to kind of go for it. So
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us more about your agency and what it looks like. Like you said, you've got some team members now. So obviously helping with virtual assisting is something you guys do. But then also you're saying that virtual assistants can come to you and you can help them with their own businesses.
Yeah. So that piece started before I even officially called myself a coach or anything. When I launched my business, was very intentional to connect with other virtual assistants as well. And I still, like, me and 3 other virtual assistants who have agencies, all go live like once a month, because it's just important, right? Especially as an online business owner, I feel like having online business friends is huge for you as a mental, like, just for your mental state, and just someone who's like, oh my gosh, I know, me too. And so right away, when I started building my business, and I'd obviously share about like my success, client wins, people started asking me questions. And so I kind of just was like, oh, and when you first start, I'm just like answering a bunch of things in my DMs, just like giving them everything, which is not bad. But then I was like, oh, like, I could reach more people if I can create things to sell to them at a low price. And so my first ever thing I created was called the Kickstart Guide. It takes you from A to Z. And so that pretty much started right away when I honestly think that was, I launched my business September 2023. I launched that product February 2024. So it was very quick because people were asking me. And so then it just evolved from there to one-on-one coaching, to different masterminds, courses. I've now created just so many courses out of just needs that I can see, or DMs that I'm getting from virtual assistants. So that piece of the business has been incredible. I love it. I'm not an actual teacher, like, not professionally. I've never been a teacher, but I'm a teacher at heart. Like, I want to teach and pour into people. So that's been so fun. And then, the agency is incredible. The agency is if the coaching side blew up, I'd be okay. I think obviously it would be a bummer, but the agency If that blew up, I'd be very sad. And it's interesting actually, because it almost feels like the agency still has so much growth to undergo, but it is like, that's definitely like my baby, like you said, Joey, like for sure. And I think it's because number one, my girls are absolutely incredible. Like I'm always like, I have the best team. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm sure you feel like the same way, Joey, but I'm like, nope, mine hands down, best team. But that, and then being able to see them almost like, look what you guys are doing, like on your own. You're serving clients, they're showing up, they're communicating, like seeing them go from like the caterpillar to the butterfly is my favorite thing. But yeah, so we pretty much serve women. We don't discriminate. Like we have had as a client before, but we predominantly market to women, and so we serve a lot of women. We landed a lot of clients through word of mouth. So my first ever client was a creator, like an online creator. So we have a lot of creators. We have a psychologist. So it's all 6 to 7 figure plus women business owners. And we do all the things. So project management, social media, customer support. And so it's been really, really cool because we also we have like a psychologist. We have a like mother-daughter relationship expert, content creator. So being able to see the need that's out there still, this is not what we're talking about today, but I feel like just has to be said. Even though AI is happening, like I'm not afraid of it's like a tool, and I still think there needs to be a human touch. And so a lot of people who like are, they're not like doing it maliciously, but they're like, are you afraid you're going to lose your job? Like, no, I'm actually not afraid. I think it's just going to enhance our job. So that was a tangent. But anyway, it's really powerful to see, especially for me, when my first hire actually that I made for my team was also laid off on the same day as me from the same company. And so that was like a redemption story. But when I first hired her and was able to hand her things, I was like, it clicked. I was like, everyone needs a VA on their team. Like, this is crazy. The amount of things that you just came in and helped me do. So that was like proof in itself. Obviously, I already knew that virtual assistance works, but yeah, so it's been really incredible to see business owners, how we've been able to come alongside them and help them grow.
I love that so much. It's funny that you mentioned AI. We actually recorded an episode last week, which by the time this comes out will be also available online, but with Investrio and the founder of Investrio, which is an AI platform for finance. And before the episode, she's like, is there anything you don't want me to talk about? I don't want to step on any toes here. And I'm like, no, we feel the same way about AI. We're very excited for it to make all the really inefficient and horrible pieces of our job go away so that we can do the things that we're actually really good at and what require that human touch, like you said. So I think there's so much room for us to just continue to work on top of and alongside of the AI. So I love that you said that. That's really funny that we were just talking about that. But that's really cool. I also think that coaches, there's a little bit of like a bad rap going around about coaches. And the more that I think about it, and I love the way you described it, but I really do think that as women, it seems like especially, as soon as we figure something out or solve a problem or do something difficult, our first initial reaction is like, who else can I teach this to? Who can I make this easier for? How can, people who are trying to do the same thing avoid the same pitfalls? And so, obviously there are these coaches who are maybe well deserved of this bad rap. I'm not saying that they're all perfect, but I think it's very admirable and should be seen as very admirable is like, okay, I just figured out how to scale an agency in, a short amount of time, a very short amount of time, let alone all the chaos that comes with, having a team and training them on your brand and your level of expertise and all of that, that your first reaction is like, okay, who can I go help? Who can I go talk to? Who can I go collaborate with to make this easier for the next person? I think that's really amazing. So on that note, talk to me about some of those challenges that do come with scaling. I feel like we're in a similar season, I guess, of like, there's the accidental growth of like word of mouth. Things are happening because there's just such a need. That was so the first few years of our business as well. And then about last year, we kind of looked at each other and we were like, what do we want? Like, what is the point? You know, we were just taking anything and everything and just happy to be here. And then it got to this point where we could be like, okay, wait, let's get intentional about this. And I think that, you know, before that stage happens, you're like, the best thing that could ever happen is insane growth. And then when you're in insane growth, you're like, okay, wait, this actually comes with its own set of challenges and heartache and headache and chaos. And it really does require a lot of personal growth and education and maybe even a little, I mean, maybe you don't feel this way and I'm just totally projecting, but like almost a little bit of like, am I crazy? Like my brain is just everywhere all the time. And so I'm just curious what your experience has been like, or if you have any advice for other people in that same stage.
Oh my gosh, I resonate with this so much. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to talk about scaling, are you ready to feel like you're dying? Because that is how it felt for a little bit. Like I was literally like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like this is absolutely crazy. And yeah, I feel like too, there's so much personal growth that goes into it that, I mean, that's why if it was easy, like everyone would do it, just period. I know it's like such a cliche saying, but it's like so true because I see the moments even now, like I can see the moments where it's like, oh, this is where people give up. Like, oh, this is where people stop, or this is where they revert back to like doing what they've always done. Cause it's like hard. And like every level, regardless of what level of success you're at, there's still stuff. It's just, you've either learned how to deal with it better, you've grown, like there's always going to be things. So I feel like for me, like, especially when I talk to people about it now, scaling an agency, I'm like, I think you number one need to be prepared to like work on yourself, like work on your mindset, work on even like your communication, right? Because especially when you're bringing people on, like you need to work on your communication, your leadership. Like these are all things that can't be ignored in the name of like, oh, let's just keep making more money and bring on more clients, because there's going to be a breakdown somewhere. And so for me too, I think you kind of mentioned it where you said like, what are we doing? Like, we're just like, you know, doing whatever is coming our way. And it's so interesting because I felt I did the same maybe in a different way, but because, you know, when I was by myself, it's like, this was the minimum, can't afford it. Thank you so much. Like, it's okay. Like next one will be the one who can. And then I had an agency and I had a team and I had like, which again, I think we may have talked about this, Joey, before offline, but like the mental load of paying a team is a whole different level of like just paying yourself. And so then what I found happening at the beginning when I started the agency, so I officially launched June of last year, actually. Oh my gosh, it's been over a year. So June of last year. And just started bringing on clients that like I would never bring on if I was by myself, because I'm like, well, I have a team. I need to pay them. These people can pay right now. Yeah, it's $500 less than normal, but that's okay. And then obviously seeing the effects of that down the line, right? It's like, they're just not the right fit. They don't align with our values. They don't do things the way we do. And then so then in November, I actually drew a line in the sand and I was like, kind of like what you described. I'm like, okay, we cannot do this anymore. Like I cannot just allow everyone in, because actually it's going to be worse in the long run. And we experienced some of that because I drew the line in the sand. Then I was like, but now something needs to be done. And having to be like, hey, we can't, you know, we're going to have to raise your rate. And then them being like, you can't do that, and leaving. And then now it's like, oh, now the mental load is actually worse, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, I wish I could go back, and I try to tell everyone who I ever train on launching to an agency, I'm like, do not cave on this. Like, this is the one thing that is going to feel easy to cave on, especially because you're paying other people. But if you could hold your ground and know, like, there are clients who will pay that, that is going to be something that in the long run is huge. So yeah, just be prepared to like cry. Some days it's going to be fine. That's all normal. Like, and have like good support in your corner. I had multiple people who told me different things that I just needed to hear. Like, I had a friend who was like, listen, if you blow it all up tomorrow, you could rebuild it the next day. And although I didn't want to blow it up, it was like she was infusing a confidence in me that I was like, okay, I got this. And then I had my husband who was like, you're incredible. Like, you could do this, you know exactly what to say, you know? And so having support in your corner is also huge if you're going to do something like this. Well, honestly, if you're going to just be in business for yourself, but especially in this season of scaling, like you need people in your corner. You need people who are like, you got this. Investing in a coach is probably a good idea, or some sort of something to help you. That's something I did too. I invested in a coach who helped me, who launched my agency, because I literally had no idea what I was doing, right? Like, I've never done it before. You've never done it before. Like, it's okay that it's hard. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just uncomfortable and because it's new. And so your brain will for sure try to keep you safe and be like, honestly, just go watch Netflix in bed. It's much more comfy. We can be safe there. And as if you need to do that for a day, do it. But no, like, you are strong enough to get through this. And I remember I would jump on a Zoom call with my coach and I would just be like crying. And I'm like, I'm paying you so much money to jump on a call and just cry. And I like, I don't know what I'm doing. And obviously she'd be like, okay, we're good. And then she'd give me action steps. But I was like, my husband, Garrett, his name is Garrett. So he's always like, would you have done that again? Like, do you think you got everything out of her? And I'm like, 100%. I'd pay her double for the way that she was there for me and the way that I had someone in my corner who not only has done it, but was like, you got this. Okay. Feel the feels. Now let's get up. This is what you're going to do. So those are the things I would say. Support is huge, and it's okay to go cry for a little bit. Then you just got to get back up and go do the dang thing.
Yes. I'm always like, business coach, solid therapist, and major benefit of having a team. It kind of sounds like we're, poo-pooing having a team in front of my team. That's really cute and fun. It does come with challenges. Like, working with people comes with challenges. That is probably the hardest part of business. It's also the best part of business is the people. And having a team, I could not and would not have done it if I didn't have a team from early on, because in so many ways they are also the support system. And I'm not just saying that because you guys are here. It's actually real and true. There's so many times where I'm like picking up the phone saying, what the heck are we going to do, Kenzie? And she's like, it's not all falling apart. Take a deep breath. And then like 1/3 of the amount of times she will also call me and I will remind her it's not falling apart. Usually it's the other way around, but it really is like, you have to have people that you can call and truly just like break down, because that is part of all of it.
They also like believe, like sometimes they believe in you more than you do. And there's moments where you need, like, I have a team member who she's actually just got promoted to director of operations, and I have called her, like audioed her, been like, I think we're not going to make it. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I see the vision for K&V. Like, we're fine. Like, we got this. Like, there was 1 week we lost like 2 of our top paying clients in a week. And I was like, what just happened? Can I pay you? I don't know. I'm going to audio you so you can clock in so I can talk to you about it. But she was like, no, like, this happens. We got this. And I think that's too what support can do, is like believe in you in moments where you're like, I don't know if we're going to make it.
Totally.
As women, life demands a lot from us, but there is no reason for you to put your business goals on hold. At the Profitability Project, we understand that your business can't be your whole life. Balancing personal life and work is always hard, and we want to help you make the most of every day. We are here to craft financial strategies to help you achieve the lifestyle you want. With options ranging from online courses to done-for-you services, you'll discover new ways to maximize profitability, streamline your operations, and take the guesswork out of taxes. We have what you need to take your business to the next level. Interested? Learn more about the Profitability Project at theprofitabilityproject.com. That's theprofitabilityproject.com. Get ready to grow your business without sacrificing your entire life.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like that the world is falling apart. We went through that same situation recently where we like lost clients that we weren't really anticipating losing. And we I think there was like a meeting where Joey and I just looked at each other like, what are we going to do? Like, this is insane. And it was like a week. We kind of called it Hell Week a little bit. Sorry for my language. But like, it was for like a week. We were like, what's happening? Like, this is not a great week. And then we are implementing EOS, and we have these scorecards where we track like, client churn and like profitability, different things like that. And we looked at our scorecard for the past 2 weeks, Hell Week, and then the week after, and we were like, we didn't even do that bad. Like, we ended up like only being in the hole $20 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was something like that where it was like, oh, it really put into perspective for us. Like, even sometimes when it feels like the world is falling apart and that we're going to fail and have to close our doors tomorrow, like, it really was just like, we're doing fine. We got this. Like, everyone's going to get paid. We're going to do great. And so, like, sometimes it was like we just had to take a little bit of a step back and like glance at it from a purely number standpoint of like, okay, yeah, it did feel like a crap week. We lost clients. It was a sucky week, but our numbers are still great. So we're fine. Like, we can move on, we can get more clients, and we'll do totally fine.
And you would think we would know that as people who literally preach to look at your numbers all day, every day. Like, that is our job. And yet, for whatever reason, it's maybe the hardest for us. I don't know why. Like, you know, business consultants are always the worst operations people. That is us. We're the worst at looking at our numbers, even though we preach it all day. And this has really helped, like, having, these are the numbers we look at. This is how often, this is the meeting that we look at them. Like Kinsey said, the emotion is there. And I don't think that business should not be emotional. I think you're actually more insane if you don't feel anything as a business owner. I think that's maybe a little unhealthy, but it does help take some of that like sting out of it and be like, wait a minute, I feel like everything's falling apart and I feel like the whole world hates me and I feel like I'm not on the right track, but my numbers are actually telling me it's not that bad. It's going to be okay. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I just have to improve this tiny little piece, not everything all the time. So another plug for numbers, if only for myself to remember to watch the numbers. I think that's good. But I love what you said, Kaelyn. I think that support is truly everything. Great advice. Talk to us about, and maybe you kind of already did, but we always like to ask our guests about a failure that they've experienced in business. One, to remind ourselves and our listeners that it's inevitable. This is going to happen. And second, that typically, for the most part, our biggest failures usually equal our best business coaching, business lessons. And they really lead to the biggest successes. And so I like to have all of those stories on these episodes, because then when I fail at something, I'm like, oh, well, everyone's failing. And I know that something good is going to come out of this because that happens for everyone. So do you have a time that that's happened for you that you can share with us?
I sure do. So I actually it's so funny. Before today, I obviously didn't know you're going to ask this. And I've just started sharing about this on social media, like yesterday, like the first time I came on, it was like, started sharing about it. So it's so funny that you asked me that, but yes, I really do. And it's interesting because it's like something that I recommend and something that I am, but it still was, you'll understand. I'm like talking in riddles, but one of my biggest failures thus far was actually investing in the wrong thing, which like I'm all about investing, but it was a coach that I invested in last year who I'm still paying. It's a whole thing. Like, I'm like afraid to say too much legally, but it got really ugly. And for me, it's like, again, I'm a coach. So for me to say this is I'm not saying like don't invest, but I am saying like be careful, because there's so much noise on the internet, right? People post things that make you, of course, like it's good marketing. Of course, they're going to post whatever, the screenshots, all the things. But for me, investing is not like I don't think you should be too slow, but I also don't think you should be too quick, right? Like, especially depending on the amount of money, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, I invested because I was following like the noise of the crowd almost, right? And then I got behind the scenes and there was so much that happened. And the worst part about this though, is that once I got out, it was a whole thing. But once I got out and shared in a mastermind that I was in what happened, the amount of women that came to me and said they had the same experience with the same person was like mind blowing. But to me, again, so that's like you said, Joey, super validating because you're like, okay, it wasn't just me. But at the same time, I'm like, gosh, I have discernment, and I feel like because I just let the hype get to me, like I totally just, you know what I mean? And along in that period too, like with this coach, I even did things that in my business that I didn't even want to do, but because she was saying to do it and she's like flashing all these numbers, I just did it. Right. And so now I'm like I've had to be unraveling these two things. So now this loss of investment money that I had, you know, that was just whatever other stuff happened with that. It's not worth sharing. But then oh my gosh, there's stuff I did in my business that I don't even agree with. And because like after things that came out with like her values and integrity, I can share this here. I'll share one thing that I found. Someone messaged me and was like, did you write this? And it was like a picture of me pulled from my website with this weird testimonial in quotes that I had said on her website. And I was like, what? No, like it was claiming crazy, like things that I was like you wouldn't even be able to pull that out of conversation we had. And so I was like, what? So then here's what happened with that too. It made me question, like, somehow it made me question my identity and my like worth, because I'm like, gosh, I made a horrible investment. Am I a bad business owner? This was a failure that I literally was like, I could be paying my team this money. You know what I mean? And so now that I'm like kind of on the other side, I'm like, no, of course not. I'm not a bad business owner. We all have failed investments. And like you said, Joey, I actually love this question that you do it on your podcast, because it has been eating at me for a couple months, because again, now there's stuff that I'm having to undo and just things that I'm having to do, which isn't bad, but it's like, it could have been prevented. But I saw last week, I saw someone share on social media about, I forget the amount, someone prominent, but she shared about some crazy amounts that she had like lost in business. And I was like, why don't people talk about this more? Because it made me feel so seen. Like it almost was like, oh my gosh, I'm allowed to share. I'm like allowed to be like, oh, there's actually coaches out there who aren't good. And like, oh, you know, and so I love this segment, do this forever. And also listeners, like, I just feel like know who you're investing in. Take your time. Any coach who's trying to rush you into signing a contract, like red flag. and just know that like, trust yourself. There's so much noise on the internet. And if you really feel like you're supposed to do something, go for it. But if it's like you're doing it because other people are doing it, it's probably not what's best for you. You know what I mean?
Totally. I love what you said about trusting your gut. I think that it's so easy to doubt ourselves, especially if things are going wrong and we're looking for solutions. We're like, oh, I'll just hire someone who I respect or who knows what they're doing, who looks really good on the internet. Especially, I get that a lot. Like, oh, it seems like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then it's all smoke and mirrors. And it's so easy to just be like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. They know what they're doing because look at their internet presence. So they must be able to help me get there. And chances are, I mean, I shouldn't say chances are. There's a lot of people that can help you, right? Like,
Totally.
There's so many people that can help you. And that genuinely want to help you and are committed to helping you. You know, there's a lot of altruism happening, but there's also a lot of smoke and mirrors on the internet, like you said. And it's really hard to know when it's the right time, who is the right investment, like that. It's a lot.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, have a conversation with them. I always do that. Even if I'm not like fully gonna, like, if I'm like, okay, I want to invest somewhere, I think a lot of times for me anyway, especially as someone who's like, oh yeah, I want to always be growing and learning, I feel like it's easy for me to like get shiny object syndrome and just like want to buy all the things. But if it's like a big investment, now my like guideline is like, I need to have a conversation with this person, even if it's like DM, because the way that they present themselves and certain things they say now to me, I know like, oh, that's authentic versus, oh, this is not authentic. And you can just tell. And so that would be my advice too, for any big investment. Like the one coach that I had who I'm like, I'd pay her over and over again. I go back to the conversation we initially had, and she like didn't pressure me, answered all my questions, like was willing to, I like asked her, I'd never made a big investment. This is my first investment ever. And I'm like, do you have testimonials? She's like sending me videos. She's like doing like, what? Yeah, of course. Here you go. Hey, you want to talk to this person? Like very genuine, authentic. communication. I'm not saying that every coach has to do that, but you'll just be able to tell. And I always encourage a conversation, like have a conversation with them before you pour thousands of dollars into them, because you want to make sure you're going to get the return on the investment. And nothing against the actual program or the coach, right? Like that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying like, if they don't have, their values don't align, if the way that they're teaching doesn't align, like that would be an issue for me, moving forward, and for everyone really, right? Because it's tough out there in that social media world.
So true.
Yeah, I feel like investments, whether it's personal or business, are always scary. I mean, my husband and I have done multiple just personal things since we've been married, but I feel like, what are some key things that people can look for? I know you kind of touched on it, but I'm curious if you can kind of point out some things that maybe people should look for when they're investing in coaches, or what they should not look for. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm trying to.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I feel like if they're open to conversation, that's a big green flag, right? I've had multiple coaches who will just send me straight to their team. Not that that's bad. Again, not if their team is, if that's the system they have in place, sure, that's great. But if the conversation was started by someone else and then I'm like sent somewhere else, I'm like, whoa, what is happening? But if there's a conversation that they're willing to have, so if their team is willing to jump on the phone with you, like, I think that's great. But if they're just trying to send you the link, like, no, here's a link, just whenever you're ready. Oh, I think urgency, like, is not a bad thing. And it's obviously used a lot in marketing, but if it's not real urgency, I think that's, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's only 3 spots. And then they're saying that like every other week. You're like, wait, I thought there was only 3 spots. And it's interesting because things we're taught, like, to create urgency and whatever. And I really do think social media is having a shift, and coaching, all the things is having a shift back to more like authentic connection, which I'm very excited about. So I think that, like, you'll just be able to tell if they're authentic. I do think testimonials, I like to see the results that a coach is actually getting. A lot of times coaches will put that there anyway, so you'll probably see it. But I love being able to actually see like the tangible results, and then like seeing what the result that they're promising you at the end of it, because I've had coaches who are like, I'll get you to 50K months by month 3. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, how, like, what do you mean by that? Like, how are you going to do that? And that's just like their thing, their tagline, but it's like, you're not even in my business yet. How do you know? How can you like, again, if you for sure can get someone, that's great. But it's like, how, just tell me more. Like, what does that look like? Is there a plan? You know what I really love? When coaches have a framework, like a mythology that they walk you through. It doesn't have to be like step by step, but just like something that they follow. Like, oh, this is the blank method. We do this, this, and this. It'll look different applied to each business, right? But if they have something that they follow, or they're like, okay, this is process 1, process 2. And that was the coach that I had. You know what? I'm just going to say her name because she's awesome and I love her. Her name's Claudia Woodham. There's a little plug for her if you, I'm sure we could put her in the show notes. She's amazing, but she has frameworks for all her things, and she's just like really good at what she does, and it's really intentional. Yeah. And just like the follow-up, the communications there, she hung with me for probably a month before I invested in her, and it didn't bother her. She was just there. And I think, I just really think in the conversation, the way they present themselves, testimonials, like if they're willing to send you extra resources, like that says a lot about them. And again, I'm not saying if people don't do that, they're not great coaches, but the ones, I think what I'm specifically talking to is like one-on-one coaching. The ones who are going to be with you in the trenches, like they need to be able to answer you in the DMs, right? Like, it's like, you're going to be with me for 3, 6, whatever months. Can you have a conversation with me now? Because that's going to really show how you show up in the next months that we're together. And so that was really important to me. And Claudia did that so amazingly, like just hung out for like a month, answered all my questions. And it really made me want to work with her over any other person who was like, hey, you ready? Hey, just following up. And like, again, not that those are bad tactics, but it just showed how much she knew she could help me. And she was willing to like, let me figure that out on my own and come to her,
Yeah. I love that. And I think you're right. Like, the genuine connection is going to be there or it won't. And even if you get a couple months into it and you're like, actually changed my mind, that's okay too. Like you said, we all make bad decisions. We could talk for days about our failures in great detail. I'm sure, we could do a year of podcasts on all the things we've gotten wrong. That is normal and a part of business. That's how we've gotten better at certain things and how we will continue to get better at others. But what we found is that our clients stay better and we have a better relationship and can affect more change when that genuine connection is there, which is why we've niched down, is because, it seems like it's more common among some than others. And so I think that's true for finding clients. So like, it's important to find your ICP because it actually, reduces churn for you. But also when you're investing in others or in other things, is making sure that that connection feels right. And yeah, your gut is telling you yes, and to trust that, even though it's hard. So I love that. Well, Kaelyn, tell us where people can find you. If they're needing a virtual assistant, how do they get in touch?
Yes, great question. So my agency is called KMVA, like Kaelyn Marie. So our Instagram is at KMVA Agency. So there's 2 A's. And my website is KaelynMarieVA.com. And then my Instagram, like I have another coaching Instagram that is at the Kaelyn Marie. So, and they're at the Kaelyn Marie. My agency is tagged in my bio. But if you go to KaelynMarieVA.com on the website, you can find all the things. But yeah, we would love to partner with you and your business and see you grow.
That's so great. We will put all that information in the show notes as usual. Definitely go check her out. She's obviously done great work, or you wouldn't have grown as fast as you did. So that's great. And again, thank you so much for being here. We're just so happy that you were able to join us today and talk to us about being in business, especially as a woman, and what that looks like. I think, like I said before, sometimes we need that advice of like, how do I just get started? And then we reach a different stage where we need that advice of how do I keep going? And I really feel like you were able to dive into that today. So appreciate you so much for taking the time. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the Profitability Podcast. For more business and finance content, follow us on Instagram at The Profitability Project LLC or visit our website at theprofitabilityproject.com.